Compass bearing. The angle measured in acute angle with respect to the north line, ON, or the south line, OS, whichever is closer angle as the initial line or the baseline, is called compass bearing. It means in order to find the compass bearing, either the north line or the south line is taken as the initial line. Then how to determine whether the north line or the south line to be taken? It depends on which line is closer from the point. If the given point is closer to the north line or from the north direction, then we use north line as the initial line. If the south line is closer to the given point, then the south line is considered as the initial line. And the angle will be always in acute angle. The angle is measured in acute angle with respect to north line or the south line. Let's see an example. In the figure, the point P is closer to north line than south line. It means the angle formed by this line OP with north line is smaller than the angle formed by this line with the south line. If we calculate this angle formed by this line OP with the south line, this is obtuse angle. But compass bearing is always measured in acute angle. So we have to take the north line as the initial line here, not this line. This line as the initial line. So in the given figure, angle NOP equals 60 degree. The bearing of P from O in 3 digits bearing is 060 degrees. But in compass bearing, this can be written as N 60 degrees E. N 60 degrees E. Here we can just use 2 digits. But what does this N means? N means the initial line is north line. And 60 degree east means the point lies towards east at 60 degree. So how do we read this? How do we understand this the meaning of this notation? Initial line is north line. From north line, the point is at 60 degree towards east. So N 60 degree E means P lies 60 degree east of north. Of north means the starting line is north line. Similarly, in this figure, here is a point P. This point P is joined with the center O. Then we think of the angle with the north line and the south line. The angle with the north line is 52 degree, but if we calculate the angle with the north line, this is more than 90 degrees. This is more than 90 degrees, which is obtuse angle. So we have to consider OS, that is south line, as the initial line, because we have to find the measure of the angle as acute angle. And this OP makes smaller angle with the south line. This OP makes larger angle with this north line. We have to look for smaller angle. Smaller angle means the acute angle. So the bearing of P from O in 3-digit bearing will be 180 degree plus 52 degrees. This is 180 degrees and plus this is 52 degrees, which gives 232 degrees. This is the bearing, 3-digit bearing. But in compass bearing, we have to write as S 52 degrees west. What does this mean? In order to find the bearing of this point P, we have to take the south line as the initial line, because this south line makes smaller angle with this OP. It means the south line makes an acute angle with this AP, not the north line. So we start with south, S. Then the angle between the south line and this OP is 52 degrees. 52 degrees. S 52 degrees. Then this point lies towards west. Towards west. So we use W. W for west. So two things. The first letter will be either N or S, and the last letter will be either east or west.